Okay, next film I'm reviewing is called Fragments, and picture this as for a cast, if you will. Forrest Whitaker, Jennifer Hudson, Dakota Fanning, Kate Beckinsale, Jackie Earle Haley, and Guy Pearce. That's two Oscar winners, an Oscar nominee, one of the most respected child actors, now a teenager, two highly acclaimed actors as well. This film is directed by Rowan Woods, who obviously received influence from Crash director Paul Haggis, as it tells the story of a random tragic event that sets the tone of people present in a diner. A man commits a random murders before turning the gun on himself, and that's where the story begins. Fanning plays a child of one of the victims. Whitaker plays an ill man who survives a gunshot. Beckinsale is a witness who has a creepy obsession with a doctor played by Guy Pearce. Hudson plays Whitaker's daughter, while Jackie Earle Haley plays a father to a witness. The movie traces the events of the post-trauma amongst the characters. Now, this movie has a lot of problems, and sadly, a lot of it is the cast. That's a big problem here. Whitaker, who has been trying way too hard since his spellbinding and genius Oscar-winning performance in The Last King of Scotland, here he doesn't seem to be trying at all. I think Forrest should take some time off before his next film and just recollect what makes him such a good actor. Dakota Fanning was annoying and downright nauseating to listen to in her performance, which is quite shocking because there's not many movies I've disliked her in other than Push earlier this year. Hudson, Beckinsale, and Pierce all failed to hit their mark, but they're not as bad. As a matter of fact, didn't Beckinsale play a waitress in a movie last year where a horrible tragedy set off a ton of events? Yes, it was called Snow Angels, and it was a much better movie with more motivated characters and motivated actors. It had a great cast, a talented one to carry it, not an ensemble one necessarily, but regardless, the movie was still good and it made my 10 best last year. Now, Jackie Earle Haley, however, on the other hand, um, is becoming one of the best actors working in Hollywood right now. Fresh off his amazing turn in Watchmen, he delivers more than what's expected in his performance, and that's why his unlikely Oscar-nominated comeback in 2006's Little Children paid off for him. He's an actor willing to give more than what is necessary for a performance, and he doesn't overdo it. That's a good thing. Now, Josh Hutcherson, who's done well in fantasy films in the past, plays a young waiter who deals with the circumstances in sad fashion. He has hardly any dialogue and is downright heartbreaking and effective in his role. But this film suffers from a lack of effectiveness as well. We remember the shots in Crash that were meant to provoke thought had no real dialogue, and they were meant to set off our emotions and deliver a subtle, non-speaking point to the film. Here, they're just trying way too hard. None of the shots have that same effect in any way, it's just a shot. I'm just sitting there saying, okay, there's an empty diner, now what? I remember how in Crash, even the likes of Tony Danza was doing his best, making his best effort possible to lend something to that film. Well, outside of Haley and Hutcherson, nobody does anything, big or small, role to do that in this film. Maybe with a director like Paul Haggis and a cast that isn't sleepwalking, this could have been a much better film. And maybe a better screenwriter would have sufficed too. If you recall, there was a film that tried the same thing earlier this year called Crossing Over with Harrison Ford and a bunch of others. Well, this film is definitely much better than that piece of decrepit stool. It also borrowed its influence from another film and relied too heavily on that influence. So stop overloading your films with big stars and mediocre ambition and focus on what'll work best. This is a huge letdown. Sadly, I cannot recommend it. So 2 stars out of 5 for Fragments.